home as quick as I wanted to, which I should have.
I just thought she was super cool. She can cook her ass off. That was all I needed.
MICHEL'LE Denise Toussaint, born December 5th, 1970. Today's feature was arguably one of the best vocalists ever in R&B as far as natural talent. Not the assisted talent we see used today through engineering a software to do most of the work for our singers. Vocals that come straight from the diaphragm, as MICHEL'LE herself would explain what singing is for her. Her voice when she sang, of course, was much different than the way she spoke, was powerful, elegant, and passionate, as she usually sang about issues affecting her as a young lady, dealing with dishonesty, or growing up learning to accept abuse from the male in your life, to convincing yourself that person is still good for you more than not, and you two were still meant to be together. In that way, MICHEL'LE definitely had the life story to draw from to create classic R&B songs turned hit records like No More Lies, a story about interest in her brother's friend and wanting to take it further, but his compulsive need to lie always got in the way. Nicety, that explained how so many she encounter always assume she's this nice, shy girl who only speaks when spoken to, and probably not as experienced swimming in the dating pool because of it, but don't know that underneath that layer she could be as nasty as any and introduce you to her wild side. And who can forget her 1990 hit Something in My Heart, my favorite MICHEL'LE song and personally one of the realest and passionate R&B songs of all time, especially when you learn about it being about her relationship with rap superstar Dr. Dre, that was trying at times to say the least, mainly because of his alleged dark side that reared its head whenever he would return home from a night of drinking, in the form of black eyes, chokes, and whatever else he was alleged to have done. Even though she says the abuse happened, something in her heart told her the two belonged with each other and came too far to let it go. A sad but relatable song, especially back then when, like mentioned, abuse in relationships was one of the norms women were dealing with. All these life experiences at such an early age, along with her singing talent, mixed with a super producer in Dr. Dre on the rise, made expectations for MICHEL'LE to be the next great R&B singer, a la Whitney Houston or Anita Baker. It came as a surprise. She only released 2 solo albums, one in 1989 and another almost 10 years after in 1998, practically missing the entire decade and her prime years building the singing career she could have easily rolled out of bed and have. She was that talented. Success came fast for MICHEL'LE, then crashed into harsh reality, and for these reasons, her growth was stunted. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. MICHEL'LE is a singer, songwriter, and credited as a rapper from Los Angeles, California, who fell in love with music and creating music being around her older brother and his friends, who started their own band and practiced for hours in the garage. He would allow a young MICHEL'LE to sit in on their rehearsals, and to her, what they were doing was amazing. That, Stacey Lattisaw, Anita Baker, and Tina Marie were her initial inspirations. It developed into performing at local talent shows until she was discovered by a friend connected to world-class Wrecking Crew's Alonzo Williams. He invites her to the studio but is shocked because he expected a star, but was met with a shy girl in the corner that didn't speak more than 1 or 2 words. It's because she was actually shy, but more self-conscious of her vocal situation, as she hates it, called a condition that makes her singing voice and speaking voice much different. Says her doctor explained it to her that when she talks, the words come out over her larynx, causing it to sound animated or without bass. Alonzo Williams hands her a paper and tells her to get on the mic and sing the words. They were all blown away and finally understood her reluctance when meeting new people. Wrecking Crew had a female singer named Mona Lisa, who would often take side jobs elsewhere and one night couldn't make it to the studio. Williams phones MICHEL'LE to fill in for her on a song called Turn Off the Lights. She came through, and that night, a star was born. Stunt number 1, an unplanned pregnancy. As a female artist, I can only imagine the side obstacles that have to be overcame in order to make it to the level of a star. One of those, especially when you're young, attractive, and talented, is you'll be approached endlessly by men around you and the ones you meet in passing, all with ulterior motives, mainly the chance to sleep with you, if we're being honest. Some are harmless and natural, as two people working together and sharing admiration for one another can be expected to find a flame within their bond, and that's what happened with MICHEL'LE and Dr. Dre. After scoring 3 top 10 R&B hits on Billboard, MICHEL'LE was finally ready to release her full debut album October 23, 1989. The album was immediately a hit and top 5 in R&B behind Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and Andre Bolton's producing. After just a few months, it was certified gold. MICHEL'LE had arrived and quickly jumped onto her newfound success, taking the show on the road, featuring on MC Hammer's tour to further promote her 3 charting songs and rising album. At some point during tour, things came to a halt when MICHEL'LE became ill. Not knowing what to do, Dr. Dre was called out to assist before the two visited a doctor to find out the problem. He broke the news to the unsuspecting couple that MICHEL'LE was in fact pregnant. Their son was born in 1991, just as MICHEL'LE's career was taking off, forcing her to become less focused on music and more on raising her child. For this reason, she didn't release another solo album or song until 1998, completely missing her prime. Stunt number 2, a self-medicated turn. During her hiatus from music, attempting to settle down, hopefully with Dr. Dre, she quickly realized that was never going to happen, mainly because their relationship was one-sided and not in her favor. When Dre dropped the rap classic The Chronic in 1992, it quickly blew up and sent Dre into superstar status. He began living the life of a rap superstar as MICHEL'LE watched from a distance, waiting for him to come back to her, but slowly becoming resentful because that was the life she hoped for herself as an artist. This led to her becoming more depressed, lonely, and even thoughts of taking her own life, leading to self-medicating through pills and alcohol. She aimed to return to music and began writing and tagging along to studio sessions with the Dog Pound. In 1995, Daz played her a beat one night and asked her to write to it, and the song Let's Play House was created. It became a top 5 rap song for Dog Pound and MICHEL'LE and gave her the jolt she needed to continue on. She was noticeably different on that song, debuting her rapper side more than the deep, heartfelt belting she was known for. She was back in the game in a new way, or so she thought. The drinking and self-medicating continued, leading to months in rehab and more time before another album. Stunt number 3, comeback disrupted. During her time finding herself again between 1995 and 1998, MICHEL'LE began leaning on Suge Knight more and more for musical support since Dr. Dre wasn't around after leaving Death Row Records. MICHEL'LE signed to Death Row after Suge convinced her he still believed in her talent, supported her financially, and also helping her personally by sending her to rehab. "You will never put out an album on Death Row," Dr. Dre told her, to which Suge Knight caught wind of and vowed to prove him wrong. He moved intently on her next album, placing her in the studio to write songs. The problem was, they all sounded like reflections on her time with and love she probably still had for Dr. Dre. When Suge heard those songs, he ordered to have them removed from the tracklist and for her to go back and record something else. Without the same passion and taking from experiences, her album released August 1998 and performed poorly all around. Critics felt it wasn't genuine and she didn't have a charting hit song to drive it. There was also the fact her fans had grown past her old music and new fans weren't impressed. Suge went to prison and married MICHEL'LE, placing all his businesses in her name. The FBI came after her for fraud charges that depleted her finances and further killed her music career. Completely done with the industry, she focused on her children and has since moved on from music. All in all, it's unfortunate the world was robbed of the talent MICHEL'LE was. So unique, and you'll notice the second you hear her speak or sing. Great talent and a career that could be described in 2 words, if only. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.